Hello and welcome to The Pursuit, the podcast where we talk about all things dating and relationships, especially in the Adventist context. This season, we are talking about issues and topics relating to dating in your late 20s. Today's episode is regarding dating single parents. I am joined today by my buddy Mike and my sister Abby. And again, as a disclaimer, this is a very sensitive topic, so we want to make sure we treat it with care and respect that it deserves. Um, None of us are in a relationship with someone who has kids or have been in a relationship with somebody that has kids, but these are our prayerful thoughts on the matter. And lastly, that children are precious and aren't to be used as a bargaining tool or otherwise. They have needs of their own, etc., etc. So this is just a topic on dating the parents themselves, not a reflection on the children themselves. So again, I think I want to tackle it like we did last week with divorcees. Specifically, what we'll do is we'll give our thoughts on the matter. Then we'll talk about things to consider, conversations that need to be had, things to expect, and what does that look like from their perspective. I'll go ahead and start off with personal thoughts on the matter. In an earlier episode, I mentioned that I wouldn't consider dating a single mother. And if I were single today, I think that still holds true for the most part, obviously. At AYP, I met this woman who
She was a single mom and she had a
she
kid there.
was a single mom and she did have her daughter there.
And it was by choice.
And it was by choice that she adopted her.
It's so cute.
I know. I like that. And
Was it adopted?
and it was an
she had
adopted kid.
adopted her.
Yeah. I like that too. And then the more that she told us the story, the more I was like, okay.
It got even better.
Exactly.
Because the kid turned out to be her student.
Yes.
She was her teacher.
And it was neglect and a whole bunch of other things. And I was like, this is a situation I would consider. And I think that specific one, I was like, I think something like that I would be open to if I were open to dating a single mom, or if I were single, I should say. Now, I have said in the past that I don't want kids of my own, and that still holds true. So if there were to be kids, then it would be better that it would play as if like it would be an adopted. So like that part is already done. Like if she already has a kid, it's like, okay, well, she won't want it anymore in theory, right? So then it's like, okay, well, I get an adopted kid and and she has already one. So I guess that brings it up. But my personal policy is no kids, except for I would consider adopting. And even that, I would consider adopting teenagers. And my reasoning there is that, and I haven't had a single person tell me that that's a good idea. Not a single person, except the lady who we met, who had adopted that young girl. But I think my reasoning for adopting teenagers is that they're the most undesired. Like nobody wants a 15-year-old, nobody wants a 13-year-old, nobody wants a 14, 16-year-old, right? And I feel like if I have some left to give, why not go for those? And another reason I give, which is funny, is like, well, they won't keep me up at night. But that's not necessarily true, right?
True, no. If anything, teenagers can keep you up more.
Even more at night. But yeah, I think I would be open to adopting later on in life. So, and I think I'd be a good dad, to be honest with you. I think I'd love my kids a whole lot. Again, my adopted kids a whole lot. But yeah, I'm not really sure I'd date a single mom in most cases were I single. What do you think, Mike?
Let me ask you something real quick.
Yeah.
Would you get a vasectomy? You don't want kids. Would you get a vasectomy?
Yes.
Just chop it off. No.
It's not even something it's something I've thought of actively.
So like, let's say, you and your girl, the goal is marriage, correct?
Yeah.
He says, honey, I don't want to do birth control. She's cool. She doesn't want kids too. Would you get a vasectomy to make sure you don't have kids?
If it's 100% success rate, I see no downsides to this.
Yeah.
I see zero downsides to this.
Would you get a vasectomy, Mike?
No.
I mean, you want kids, so.
Yeah, I eventually want kids, but.
Yeah, but I don't. So I'm like, I don't have to buy condoms. She doesn't have to do birth control. That would mess up her hormones. We don't have to deal with any of that. And all I have to do is go under for about whatever, an hour time. I can't walk for like a day or two, and then we can have unprotected sex for the rest of our lives. That sounds like a win all the way around. I don't see what's wrong with that.
Okay. I feel like a lot of guys, they hear that word and they're like Michael said, you want to chop it off. Like it is such a Like,
No, I said just chop it off. That's what I said.
but
Castrate yourself.
but what are your personal thoughts on the matter of dating a single mom? And this is something you said before the show that I didn't consider, which is
the number of kids.
Yeah, the number of kids.
That's definitely
that
something.
did not cross my mind at
Well,
all.
all the demographics are related to the
But
kids.
I guess I'm just assuming the one. But you go ahead with your thought process.
I think we'll get to that later, like with the things to consider. I don't know.
Yes, of
I don't want
course.
to give everything I have
Off the jump. Yeah, but what are your personal rules on the matter?
Oh, I mean, at first I would like definitely probably have reservations.
Okay.
And honestly, that's just mainly because of where I am right now, personally, like financially, career wise, you know, and just the goals I have right now is probably not advantageous for me. And I don't want to put myself in a spot where I can't really be a father figure for those kids or that kid, you know, because neglect is not something, you know, especially depending on what brought the divorce into it, or if the dad was, you know, not a good dad or not there, like if he's estranged from his kids or whatever,
or if he's dead.
Yeah, you know, you don't want to put yourself in a position to, you know, hurt, you know, someone's kids.
Yeah.
Or, you know, obviously the woman too. So I have to be like honest with myself, even if I like the person, you know, and I genuinely like want to.
Yeah.
If I know I can't like be there for her, even if you're dating, like, and you're not married, like, or you haven't even gotten that,
still,
you're still going to be seen. You're still going to have to be in that kid's life,
or at least handle the. I can't find a babysitter, or pay for the babysitter.
Well, and that's what you should do. You're taking on that responsibility. Like, you should do that. Like, that's like a very important thing to consider. You know, so I would have to first look at myself, make sure I'm doing it. But I don't think I would have any I don't think it's like a zero chance that I wouldn't. You know. So,
but it's near zero.
Huh?
It's near zero.
Well, like I said, and this is just for where I'm at right now. Right now, I probably wouldn't, just because like I don't think I'm in the right position.
So then let me ask you this: what would need to be in place in order for you to for that number to not be zero?
Well, I'd have to know where I'm going to be at, like in the next year. Like, am I stable?
Oh yeah,
stable job. This is what I'm doing right now. Do I have enough money to
you have a stable job now, but you mean like you want like somewhere you want to be long term?
Yeah, like I know for a fact, like I don't want to be at the job I am right now
for the next 5 years,
10, 15, 20 years, right? Like we're going to have to, you know, I know I'm going to be doing something else, you know, at least that's the hope. So there's that. And then honestly, I would also consider like the relationship the kids have with the mom. You know, like if the mom is kind of just like a deadbeat mom, that's a red flag to me. You know, I don't want to.
What do you mean by deadbeat?
Like she doesn't care about her kids; she just has them.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the kids clearly aren't being taken care of, or there's just
neglectful.
Like, or maybe even abuse. Like I would look at that.
Yeah.
How about would you guys take into consideration the baby daddy? I haven't heard you talk about the baby daddy.
Well, I'm a guy. So
I don't care about a baby, or what do you mean?
I mean, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying. If the dad is still in the life of the kids,
alive?
I mean, we'll get that in things to consider. I'm talking about you're like you, so you would not.
As of right now, maybe if they had one kid, maybe. But if there's like 2, 3,
and the ages depends on the ages too.
And the age.
Well, I'm assuming because I'm still like in my 20s that they're probably not like.
Let's say somebody got married at Chris's age 23 and they're 30 now. Say it's like a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
They're not tiny. They're like in what, second?
Well, I would actually like that because I don't have to worry about changing diapers. I ain't got to be up. They can sleep. They're kind of independent. We could go outside. We could play catch. We could play basketball. Take them to the gym. I don't know.
Yeah,
do stuff.
What about you, Doc? What are your personal thoughts on dating single daddies?
I think my first thought when I saw this was like, is she dead?
Okay. Like, wow. Way to go morbid.
Like, does the mom still exist? And what I mean by that is like, what is the relationship between the baby mama and the dad? Granted, the odds are if she's still alive, she probably the kid probably lives with her more than him. So especially if like, you know, if it's a good co-parenting, like they call it. Still, Like the woman still bears more of the weight with children. So in this case, that would be the advantage where the man, the kid won't probably be around as much. So that's probably a plus for me. But I would also consider their age and
Yeah,
how
walk me
many.
through that. So, like, do you prefer them to be younger or older?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And
I
then you
think
said, correct.
I think when they're younger, it's easier to connect with them. Whereas when
Mm.
they're older, it's like, you're not my mama. Like,
Mhm.
That's true.
and it's true, right?
Get
But
away.
like, there's more sass, there's more antagonism against the step parent.
Yes.
So in theory, I would probably say I'd like them to be younger and to be able to connect with them, because I would want to be able to connect with them. But at the same time, when this kid is around, let's say we're married or something at that point, I would consider like the fact that this is, at the end of the day, I am the woman in your life now, but this is your child primarily. Like, yes, I am a step mom to this child, but you cannot treat me as if this was my child. So, like, you know how, like I said, women carry most of the weight?
Mm-hmm.
Since this is primarily your child and you brought it into this marriage, you will continue carrying primarily most of the weight. Like, I will be your helper and I will love this child, right? And I will be a good step mom. But at the end of the day, I can't take the place of his mom.
What if
And
the
I don't
kid
want
doesn't
to
have a
take
mom though?
huh?
What if the kid doesn't
Well,
have a mom?
if the kid doesn't have a mom, then I, like, you know, if
You
if
become
she
primary
did,
mom. You're the mom now.
yeah, if I'm the
Take it or
mom,
leave it.
then yeah. But like, I feel like at the end of the day, I would want to have that conversation of the fact that it's primarily his responsibility.
That's
I don't know.
that's really weird.
Because especially I wouldn't want to have, it depends the culture, right, too. Because like, let's say I get together with a Latino man, and Latino men just cast off their kids to the mom.
Oh man,
And it's
dude,
like,
I have
no.
horror
Well,
stories.
that's in that
I guess what I'm trying to say is
situation.
clear expectations about the fact that at the end of the day, even if this kid is little or not, I am a new parent coming into their life. You are the only biological thing left. So you are essentially their world. I am coming in to be a part of it. So you still need to bear the weight of it more than, you cannot just dump your kid off on me because we are together now. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying, but like,
what does that
in
mean?
my
Dump your kid off on me.
well, I get
What
I
I'm-
get what she's saying. Like, okay, you're the stay-at-home mom now. This is your responsibility. I get what you're saying.
Not
but-
without a conversation.
Well, no,
That's
it's
what I'm saying.
Well, you're saying
no,
even
no,
with
no,
a
we need to have a conversation.
Wait, hold on. Wait, let me finish. I don't think it should ever be like that. Anyway, I think both parents, regardless if they're your biological kid or not, should all like have equal like roles in the kid's life. Because you need like both the mom and dad for the kid to
Yes.
have
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
outlook, or at least like the studies show that if there's two parents, or that if a kid has both a father and a motherly figure in life, their outcome for success is a lot better than if not.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be a motherly figure, but it's a conversation.
I know, but I expect you to still fulfill the same role as any motherly figure would. Because just because you gave birth to them doesn't necessarily make you the mom.
That's true.
Right?
But the motherly figure, I guess what I'm trying to say is that even if like I do end up having kids or something, like this is a conversation I would have with them as well. Like, well, obviously it's different but what I'm trying to say is at the end of the day, like I will be the best mom I can be to this person. But at the end of the way, the weight is still more on him because it's his kid.
So then you're still making it sounds like he's on his own, and I'm just only here.
I am not trying to say that at all.
I'm telling you what it sounds like.
Okay, well,
it sounds like you're saying I'm here to help you, but at the end of the day,
this is
like
your responsibility.
like if he's crying and stuff, you're like, why are you looking at me for?
I didn't
That's
say
you're
no.
like at the end of the day, it's your kid. You keep repeating that. At the end of the day, it's your kid. At the end of the day,
because I guess I don't think you guys will be able to understand it.
I get what you're saying. No, I get what you're saying.
Women experience this all the time, and like even in the language, it's like, "Woman, come get your kid," or "Go to your mom."
Yeah, but
like,
those are examples
just,
of unhealthy relationships.
So then you're just flipping it on its head.
I guess
you're just doing the same thing, but to the guy. Go to your dad.
No,
go to your dad.
I'm not
not your bio mom.
I never said I will never say go to your dad. what I'm trying to say is I will have a conversation with him about the fact that he has a more important role in this kids because they're coming in from a different relationship. Like, yes, I will be the best thingy, but you're not like, it's not like it's gonna be like I'm doing everything and you're not gonna do anything.
Why do you say that he has more responsibility,
Because
but at the same time you don't want more responsibility?
I
You
never
see-
said
But
I
then
will. I never said I wouldn't take any more
No,
responsibility.
you're saying
I don't.
you're
Maybe
saying
I'm not communicating
No,
myself
I get what you're
correctly.
saying,
you're always gonna have more than me. That's what you're saying.
No, what I'm
no.
trying to say is he needs to remember that he is this kid's. He's going to be more than me. I'm going to be coming in, but like, especially if the mom is still alive, this guy needs to make most of the decisions when it comes to this child, or he needs to make it with the baby mama. I will be a support.
So
Okay,
then
so-
you're
so-
just
so-
gonna be hands off. You're like, well, we're
Hold on.
deciding what to feed him, and you're like,
Wait, hold on.
why are you talking to
wait,
me? Go
wait.
talk to the baby mama. I'm just
I
here
never
so I don't
said
get fined.
that as well. See, I feel like you're taking it to
No,
radicalization. What I'm trying to say is
I'm
having
taking
a
it to its logical conclusion.
No, you're taking it to a very
So is it
radical
different?
conclusion that is yours.
Is it different if you're married or compared to dating? Like, so if you marry,
Yeah, that's a good question.
and then you like the guy has custody of the kid,
If he has custody of
and
this
you marry
kid,
him, then you
then
both
we will
have custody.
we will
Does that mean he
discuss how.
still has
More than you.
responsibility?
No, I didn't say more responsibility. I think he still has more weight in the sense that it's his bio child. The responsibilities we discussed together.
Oh, okay. So how does that? He has to feel more weight to showcase itself.
I guess it showcases itself in the sense that he has to show more. No, I don't think that's the right word. That he has to take ownership of his child in the sense that if something like he's a primary contact for this kid. Like,
Okay.
I guess maybe I'm coming off of from like from the culture that I am in, where women are just expected
And I
to
said
just take the kid and
that's
everything.
That's not.
So I
that shouldn't
guess
be
my
that way.
perspective,
Yeah.
and lots of women in my perspective, and even in the American, like we experience that, and we see it in our mothers, where it's like the whole weight of this child, the whole weight of his world goes on to this mother.
But I don't
So
think that's
I guess what
in
I'm
a
trying to
healthy
say,
relationship, though.
huh?
But I think you're just giving examples of like bad examples.
That's why
of
I would,
relationship.
since this
But
is my experience,
I-
that's why I would have this conversation
but then
and
you're
try to make
countering-
it a healthy one.
I know, but
Yeah,
then
but
you're
you're trying to
countering
marry-
it. But then you're countering it by saying he has more responsibility. So then it's
I
kinda,
never said
it kinda
responsibility.
negates-
You guys
You
are the
said
ones
weight.
saying
I
more
mean, weight and
responsibility.
responsibility, they're interchangeable.
Well, I mean, I'm just using that word because that's the word
Because
I have.
weight doesn't mean
But-
anything.
no.
Responsibility is what
For
weight
example-
Well, no, I
means.
get what you're. Okay,
For
so
example,
what was the
like a
word?
medical emergency.
It doesn't
Don't
matter.
call me.
He
Don't
is
call
I
me.
never said don't call me. Who has the choice?
You
If
guys
this
You
both.
kid
guys
has
have
to,
the
if
choice.
this
Guys both.
kid has to go under anesthesia,
Yeah.
who has to make the choice by law?
I don't know how the
The
law.
biological parent. And if I
So
have
not the step parent.
Huh?
Not the step parent. So if you
I
marry
have it
him,
correctly, I would have to adopt the child in order to make a legal decision on his behalf.
Is that how that works?
He-
I don't know how the legal.
Yeah,
the
that's
legality
how
of
I
it
believe
works.
it works.
So-
So what I'm trying to say is, like, if we're married, I would adopt this baby and I would make choices with my husband. But at the end of the day, he can't forget that, like, like he's this kid's, he's gonna have more weight than me with him. This kid probably had another mama. Let's say if the mom
I
is
don't think
dead.
you understand it. We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah,
No,
Like,
I
I don't
understand what
think
you're
you'll-
coming from.
because
I just think you're.
I know.
My only thing that I get the hiccup is I think the way you're approaching it, to me, it doesn't sound right, because if you're saying, okay, I don't want
Like, I'm only
I don't
willing to
want
take
hold on, hold on, hold on.
49%.
Well, yeah, like what, like you're saying, I don't want the men to think that, oh, now here's the woman, she takes full responsibility of the kid. I'm not saying women don't do that, because or don't go through that, because that's obviously what
For the
happens a lot.
The
majority.
case, yeah.
But I'm not. That's in those examples.
For example,
Wait, hold on. Let me
yeah,
finish. Because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of men that have that mindset, but there's also a lot of people that don't. Like a lot of people. There's a lot of relationships where both the
there's a
man
lot
and the
that
woman
don't.
are, sharing equal load. And I think, like, if you want a healthy relationship and a healthy life for the kid, I think both the man and the woman should go into it, whether they're biological or not, should go in together with the understanding that we're both here for the kid.
Yeah.
I guess
Because it feels like you're making decisions just based off of the
Yeah.
abuse use case.
No.
I wouldn't.
Okay, I'll bring a case
Because-
study to you all, and
Yeah.
you tell me how it sounds. We have a family friend, has 2 teenagers. Okay, they are thinking of coming here. So, and is a stepmom. Okay,
Mhm.
these kids, their primary person, who is it?
Their papa.
So their world is their daddy.
Okay.
Right. So then if they come here and then decides to just leave all the decisions to Evelyn, he's doing a disservice to not only his children, but also Evelyn, correct?
Correct, with the knowledge that you're jumping to a radicalization.
Okay,
right?
let's see if it's healthy. But at the end of the day,
you're only swimming at the he's gonna leave everything. He's gonna leave everything.
okay, that was okay, but yeah, I haven't told you the other part.
Okay.
These kids, like, and he's even vocalized it. These are my kids. I will take care of these kids. And when it comes to disciplining them, he has more say than her. He has more weight than her. He is their world. Not saying that she won't be there. But, like, for example, like, she can't override him because he is her there first.
I think age plays a role.
Age plays a role, but I think the concept still stays the same, regardless of the age. Like it's not ideal, because the ideal is, like, the woman is usually like, but this is a co-parenting, you're a intermingling of families. And in the intermingling, it's gonna look different.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we are going to discuss responsibilities. I am going to be the part that the woman is. But at the end of the day, this kid first came from him and another person. So he is still first in their life. They're still going to look for him first, for responsibility, for comfort, and all these things. And
For forever?
huh?
For forever?
I mean, it
I
could be.
believe
It could be,
so.
but
I
that
believe
doesn't. That
so.
that shouldn't change how
Will they grow with
view-
the step parent? That is the desire.
Mhm.
But I don't think it's I guess, and I think I vocalize this more from the culture that I'm in.
I know,
And that's why I would have the conversation. If it's a healthy relationship, I wouldn't even have to say anything, because he would say something.
But I know,
Because
but
what
you
you're
said
saying-
you would put you said he would have more of the responsibility or
Right.
whatever it is.
And
But here it is, like, I mean, from what I googled, like, if you marry someone, that doesn't give you legal rights over the child. It's only until you adopt them as yours.
That's what I'm saying. I don't have legal, so he has to make more choices about this
wouldn't
little
you
baby.
want to adopt the child if you marry?
But I did say I would adopt it.
Okay, so if you adopt them,
So then I could start making choices.
see, so
But I still would
here's the thing, though.
I wouldn't want to override him.
I think you're comparing apples and oranges from this perspective, where you're saying is the one saying, hey, listen, I want to be the one that disciplines them. I want to be the one that takes responsibility for them. What you're saying that you want to do is as if and would be like, I don't even want to touch discipline. I don't want to touch decisions. I don't want to do whatever. That's exactly what you're saying.
That is not what I'm saying at all. I am saying we will discuss responsibilities. I'm not saying I'm not doing.
He has more weight. Whereas you're saying Giovanni is saying,
weight because they're
hey, listen,
his children.
I want this.
Like you're saying,
but if Giovanni were to be the one to say, hey,
baggage.
listen, I want to share this parenting journey with you.
Yeah.
Then that's the conversation. I want
correct.
to share
But
this
that's how it
parenting.
should- that's how
and
it
then
should
we
be, though.
discuss the things. But at the end of the day, the weight is his, because it's his baggage. I can help you
But
carry
it
your
is-
baggage. I can help you manage your baggage.
But you're
at
saying
the end
you're
of the
not
day,
mine. You're not my baggage.
I never said you're not mine. I said you're more his than you will ever be
You
mine.
literally just said
I don't think it
his
has to be
baggage.
that
It's
way,
his
though.
baggage. You just
But-
repeated that.
I don't think it has to be that way.
I don't think you guys will ever understand
I
me, and
understand,
maybe
but-
I don't have the best ways to explain it.
But why do you think
but-
why do you think it has to be that way? Why do you think just because he's not your blood that he can never be like fully
enough, like half and half weight?
Well, he can never
will never
look
be
at you
half-
fully as mom.
Yeah.
Like, he can definitely look fully like a kid.
I don't think he will be able to fully look me at his mom,
Yeah,
just
they
for
can.
psychological reasons.
No, they can.
Because you have an imprint of your mom, just like you have an imprint of your dad.
We see it in
and that's just saying if she's dead. But if she's alive, even more reason that he will never look at me fully like his mom.
there's kids that do.
Unless the mom is like super duper duper neglectful, possibly not in the right mindset, or maybe she's like gone, right,
Well,
mentally.
it
But
depends on
like,
the
but
situation.
those
All
are
right.
very extreme cases.
All right.
But
I
I
think,
think,
hold on.
well,
I
But
think
it's
we need
just
to cut
as
it
a
off
woman,
there.
it's just
I think we need
different.
to cut it off
La-
and actually touch
last thing, and then I'm
touch
gonna
on
say,
top. You have 10 seconds.
and I think you know, regardless of what the situation is, if a kid needs a mom and there's a space for you there for you to fulfill that role, the kid will look at you as his mom, like regardless if he's not yours or not. All right. Now, if the mom,
That's not always true.
it's not always true, but it's not an absolute. Nothing is absolute, but there's definitely a lot of instances where kids will grasp onto a woman who's there for them. We see it in the animal world all the time. Like,
Well, yeah.
kids get
All right.
abandoned.
We'll have to continue
right.
discussing later.
right.
Let's move on. Some things to consider after all of that yelling and screaming and good discussion is here I have on my list is that relating to kids is difficult, and even more so as an authority figure, right? As an authority figure, you have the "you're not my dad, you're not my mom," right? But you would hope that would change, but that's not really up to you. That's really more up to how the parents treat you and how the kid sees you and things like that. So
It takes time.
and not just that, you actually have to make an actual like relationship with this child that you wouldn't otherwise need to make. So it's not it makes things definitely more harder. Which is to say, which is my next point, is that a relationship between two people is already hard. Now you add an immediate third person, it makes it that much harder. And it's not just an immediate third person, but there's also a fourth person that you need to have a relationship with.
Yeah.
And that's all right off the jump.
Who's the fourth person?
The other
mom,
parent.
the dad.
Depends.
So
if
it's like
depends if they're there.
So
Yeah.
be Matilda. Let's assume a daughter named Imogene and a dad named Mark. That's three.
Why do you need to have a relationship with the other parent?
Because
Because you're
they're
all
a co-dad.
co-parenting now.
Yeah, you're now three, and if he remarries or has another girlfriend, that's four parents. All four of you have to have a relationship, and that's crazy to think
like,
about.
Hey man, like go see your kid. Like, all right,
I think that's too simplistic, but that's just me. Again, that's just something to consider. And like, I had a gripe with, which is like that her parents were always in a relationship, and I feel like I never really just talked to her. Like I was talking to her parents through her, and like now imagining that but like in an adult space, it makes relationships that much more difficult. What other things to consider would you guys think there?
I think on the contrary, I know like when people have a kid, usually parents or adults seem to mature up or become more serious about the relationship because of the kid.
You mean the parent?
The parents, yeah.
The biological parents.
Whoever,
okay,
I think is in who's going to be taking care of the kid.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of things become secondary, and the focus a lot of times should be, on raising the child. So I think sometimes, having a kid can make things more simpler. Like, hey, we have, there's this kid that we need to take care of, or, that's in this relationship. I need to make sure that, I've doing everything I need to do in my life personally to make this work, not just for me and the wife, but for the kid. So I feel like it can make things more complicated, but I think it can also at the same time makes things simpler because like what you have to do, like, or there's an important life that needs to be taken care of. I think.
What about you, Abby? What are some things to consider?
You have to consider the relationship they have with the other parent, and if you'll get along, if they're willing to, you have to have a relationship with this other person, adult, right? The number of kids.
Yes.
You have to consider if you're ready to be a parent, right off the bat, right?
Yes.
Because
which may be too
in
soon.
a relationship where no one has children, right? You might not have a children conversation for a while, right? You may have your personal thoughts on whether you want kids, or if you don't know yet, if you're open to it. But if this person already has a child, you might not talk about kids or how it's going to go, the dynamic, but in the back of your head, like, you need to be honest with yourself. Do you want to be a parent? And are you willing to be a parent? And especially if the other parent is still alive, are you willing to be a parent with less control, in the sense that they're co-parenting, right? At the end of the day, they make the decisions together about this child, right? You might have your opinion and you can relay that to your husband. But at the end of the day, if they make a choice you don't like, you have to accept that. So, like, I don't know, these are thoughts that I will go through my mind of, like, would I be willing to be a parent with less control? Like, with like seeing choices that I don't approve of.
I think there's also you're right about we're willing to be a parent, but it's also a steep learning curve. Where let's say you even just start seeing this person. I mean, I kind of wish I would have talked to Kayla's sister. She married a guy who has a kid, and I wish I would have talked to her and known more about kind of how that went for her or what was her relationship with everything. But I know it's a steep learning curve, and I have this. There was this woman I used to work with when I worked for the city of Madison, where she used to be the receptionist for my department, and her son, his first relationship was he went to the army and married
A single mom.
a single mom who was much older than him and had 3 kids. First relationship, married her right off the jump.
Oh.
I wouldn't say that's wise, but something to consider. Maybe not as a first relationship.
I know a guy that did that, and he was young. This lady had like 3 kids. And
So was he. He was like 19.
Oh, 19?
19, 20, yeah. He was, wait, how
He
old is your
married his
guy?
mama.
I think he might have been like 21 at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
How has it turned out?
I mean, they married. They're still together.
Okay.
So, I was thinking like, one thing to consider is like how many kids by different baby daddies.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
if
that's
there
true.
are multiple,
Because
yeah.
I know some girls who've got like 2, 3 different baby daddies. I'm like, yo. But there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know if I want to put myself in that. I mean, there's something going on here, and I think that goes back to even the last week's, would it be last week's?
Divorce?
Last week's, topic on divorce, the multiple, how many divorces? Well, this time, like, how many baby daddies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because those trends don't, favor a successful marriage, But obviously, you want to consider the spiritual life of the person, their relationship with God.
Yeah. Especially
that's
as
always,
Adventists.
yep, and their relationship with their own kids do they have a good relationship? Are they not deadbeat? Like, how do the kids respond to you? Like, do they have like fear of men? In my case, because then that would be something definitely to consider. Because if they came from an abusive home, they may have like a lot of
An aversion to men, especially if she had daughters, right?
Yeah, so there's a whole host of things to definitely consider. Definitely want to take it serious with kids, because you definitely will have an impact on their life.
Yeah,
sure.
and that's my last point on things to consider, which is this is only for the mature. This is not a game, right? I mean, dating is never a game, but it bears repeating that when it comes to children, you have to really take things seriously because
Or don't mess with them.
Yeah, or don't mess with it at all. So you really got to consider that.
You got to go, if you know this is what you want, you got to go in 100%.
Yeah, or really think it through, right? Like, you don't have to know right off the jump, but really think it through before you jump in or anything like that. Now, I think with that, we can segue over to conversations that need to be had. So, and I put here either with them or yourself. So, for example, like a question you can, ask yourself is, what's the game plan here? Do you want more kids? Right? Like, not only do they want more kids, but do you want more kids? Is this enough for you? Is it enough for them? But I think the biggest question is, what's the relationship with the proverbial baby daddy? Right? Like, what does that look like? And I know that I've seen reels of this. I don't know why it's a thing, but in the secular space, like obviously not in Adventism, or at least we would hope not in Adventism, it is commonly known that you don't want to date a baby mama because baby daddies always will have access to sex with them, because it's like, we were together, we have a kid together, like, just come over. Right. But I've seen that. It's like, I've seen reels of like, oh, like when you drop, the kid over, and then it's like, oh, I need something, come and get in the house, and then you hear noises in the background, insinuations and things like
Reels are you
that.
watching, dog?
I don't.
Right?
Like,
What
hey,
algorithm do
you
you
show this on
got?
Instagram? Like, it sounds like
I don't know.
like a script role play.
No, it wasn't like that.
All right.
I think you
But I mean, I think it's a conversation to have. What relationship they still have with the baby daddy. Also, when do you mention the kid? Right? Do you mention it right off the jump? I don't know.
Yes, you
I
better.
think you
Really?
do.
You think so?
I want to be in a relationship with a woman who loves her children.
Yeah.
That better be the first thing you tell me. Like, yeah, I have 3
I have
kids.
3
Like, if I
little-
ask you, like, so tell me about yourself, and you never mention your kids until like a week later, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
A week is a
that-
red
Or like I
flag.
just see a picture on your social media. I'm like, why is she? Or I don't know. I find
my
out
3
some other
little
way.
angels. You're like, wait.
What? Why didn't you tell me right off the bat?
Yeah.
Like
Or what
that
if
would
she's
raise
the type
an
I don't like
eyebrow.
sharing my kids on social media? There's lots of
Secret-
kid
Well,
porn
I'm not
Yeah.
saying
and
social media.
people.
I was just using that as an
example.
to find out
Okay.
through social media, but like that should be one of the first things you tell me. Yeah, well, I'm a mom. I want to
It
know
doesn't
that.
have to be, because you even parents are more than just their children, so they don't have to announce it to the world.
But that's a big part of your life, though. Like
That's true, but that person has
you're a mom
had-
before you're anything else. When you have kids,
No,
So
I
then-
am a
so
woman
then you-
before I am a
you're a
mom.
mom before you
No.
have anything
See,
else.
that is the
No,
that is
no.
a huge
I
problem,
don't
because
think you
you
understand
No,
what you're saying.
no.
She's a woman before she's a mom.
I am a woman
I'm not talking
before
about
I'm
that.
a
I'm
mom.
talking about
and,
once you have kids.
and no, once I have kids, I am me before I am
you're a mom first.
No, I am.
If it comes to it, you lay down your life for your kids.
Yes, okay, I'm not negating that, but
So you're
I
a mom
guess what
first.
I'm trying to say is I am a woman first, in the sense that women can't forget themselves. That's a huge thing. Parents can't forget themselves when they have children. Like, they need to take care of themselves. That's what I mean.
But you realize that women use that excuse to neglect their children all the time.
And so do men. I guess what I'm trying to say is, and anybody that wants to use anything for
I'm
an
not saying
excuse
to
will
only
use
see
it.
you as a
I guess
mom, but I'm saying like if I'm a dad, if I have a kid, I'm a dad first. Like I've heard Giannis say that. He said like if his son came to him and said, he missed him and he didn't get to see him often, he said he would quit basketball.
Wow.
And he would retire. And at the peak of his career, he would retire.
I get the concept that you're saying, right? You're taking care of your kids, like you're whatever.
So that's be the first thing you tell me, like one of the first things, like my name is.
But it doesn't have to be. You can decide when.
I want that. That's
okay. Okay. All right. You want that.
Because if you love your kids, then I know like you're someone who's, like has those like those values.
So then what if she talks about them all the time?
And that's all she talks about. And then
right?
you don't
She's
get
a
to
mom
know
first,
her.
and all she does is
Because
talk about
then
her
you're
kids
marrying
and what
a
they
mom,
did
you're not
today.
marrying
That was
an
all
individual.
she was. I said that's the first thing she should be.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Michael, what are some conversations that need to be had either with yourself or with them?
Like, okay, so if they act out of line, we beating them or not?
Yes.
We put them in the corner, or
do I have
taking them out back?
permission to?
Yeah, I mean,
discipline them?
I'm just messing around. I'm just like the parenting style. Like,
Yeah, 'cause you're
how are you gonna parent?
Are we beating them or not?
Yeah, are we just telling them to be like, well, you shouldn't do that again, and that's it, or are we,
Are you
are we
okay with
raising them?
Are you
the way
okay
I
with
was
not having a
raised?
choice?
Or what's the mean BTA?
What's that mean?
It was really sad. They chanted that at the Eagles Super Bowl parade. It was bell test for the
what?
Chiefs.
Would you be okay if you didn't have a choice?
In parenting, that would honestly, I mean,
That'd
like,
be
so
a turn
so
off.
it depends on what we're talking about. Well, what do you mean you say not have a choice? Have a choice in how to parent them?
Like, if she
Yeah.
has the final say, like, you can give her your
If
opinion.
I adopt a kid, then I would expect to have a definite say, especially
but that's
if
a
she's
conversation
coming
to
from
have.
if she
'cause
I know
it
it's a
doesn't
conversation to have.
necessarily
Yeah, that's all part of it.
equal. Yeah.
But if we're coming from like the biblical, like traditional, like family and like how like the example we're given in the Bible, like the man has to have a role, and the Bible
Yes.
says that he is the spiritual leader
Yeah.
of the family. So
Mhm.
like he definitely has just a say in this. That's I think how God designed it, and I think the best successful outcomes are when we follow that biblical example of raising a family. So I definitely, if she's telling me no, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do that. Like, man, I came and hit his hand with a ruler, and he's like, nope, don't touch my kid. Okay, well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, because there are
That
some
would
mothers
I
that
would
look at
walk
their
away
kids.
because
Especially if the other dad's alive, right? If the other dad's
well,
alive.
Well, if the other kid is malcriado,
if I'm adopting the kid
and
from the dad, then that's I'm taking responsibility of the kid now.
I always wonder how
I
that
don't care
works.
what
Like,
the
if
dad's
you
doing. He
marry
failed.
and then does the other dad have to give up parental rights in order for you to adopt?
No, I
I
don't
don't know
think
how
so.
that works.
Well, I'm just saying if it comes down to that.
No,
If
yeah. I mean, I'm
I
just
don't
I'm
know
just
how it
putting a
works either.
random.
Like I
I-
said,
I
we're
was putting
all
a
just
Yeah,
random.
I don't
This
know
is
the
probably
legal
something I should have
lingo,
researched,
yeah.
but
But like I said, if I have the rights to the kid now,
you don't have a right to adopt someone if their other parent is alive. What are you adopting unless they relinquish?
or
Unless they
That's what I'm saying.
unless the
Unless
court
the
decides like, yeah,
You're not
can't
fit to be a
you're
parent.
not fit to be a parent.
you're unfit,
Yeah.
and so
Then
but
and I'm taking responsibility. Then I have the right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Abby, what are
But
some
you don't.
conversations you feel like you either have to have
do
either
it.
with yourself
I'm
or
adopting a kid and
with
he's
them?
taking my money. Well, get over in your room.
BTA.
Yeah. Spread out.
Wait, what?
I think all of
Sorry.
those conversations that Michael are all great. I think from a woman's perspective, I think I would ask, especially because I'm gonna default that she's alive, right?
Yes.
Um,
Even though you defaulted to she's dead, but
well,
There's
if
so
she
many
if she's
scenarios,
dead,
everyone.
honestly, I think if the guy's a widow, I think it's best.
much easier.
Much easier
100%.
because the mom is not like there's not a third adult in the dynamic.
Or a fourth person, like I mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah. So, but like,
Sad if the dad dead is easier.
Of course it is. That's not even
It's kind of
debatable.
morbid to say.
It is morbid, but
it is morbid,
but
but
we're talking about from our perspective.
you gotta have the conversation. Like, that's why I asked you the question of like to yourself, like if you're okay with playing a parental role but not having full control as a natural parent. That's a question that I would have to ask myself. And am I willing to do it? Because I could be honest about the reality of it, but then dilute myself about whether I would be doing it or not. I think as a woman, it's easier to accept a man with a child than to a man accept a woman with a child.
Yes.
Just because we're just natural nurturers. I think I think all the conversations in dating would be the same, but I think you would have earlier conversations about stuff than a typical, right? Because you're already talking about kids. It was probably early on. You're talking about possibly marriage. What do you want to see? What do you see about this? You could possibly get married faster. So those are conversations with myself and them that could possibly happen. Like the timeline would probably be different. There's this little kid. When will I be able to have a relationship or start getting to know this person? Do you want me to, right? Obviously, we assume the answer is yes, but these are questions that need to be spoken out loud, however uncomfortable that they are.
Right.
And I was gonna say something else, but I forgot it, and I actually liked what I thought. But
While you think of it, I was going to say, think of like an example of like if she were to start dating somebody, kid's almost 18, like
yeah,
like would it be a requirement to even get to know him? He's probably like 16, 17, or it's a little, it's not as black and white as if they were younger.
And I mean that's a good example of like the fact, what if the child has special needs?
Yeah.
What if the child has mental health challenges?
Can you handle that?
Yeah, can you handle it?
And what does it mean to handle it?
And that might present an opportunity to be thrown into that handling sooner rather than later. For example, thrown into that real quick, right?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like,
do you think he knew, or do you think he was?
I think he knew.
Yeah, I don't think he was caught off guard.
And I was gonna say, I remembered what I was thinking. I think you should tell your person that you're getting to know romantically sooner rather than later. I don't think on the first date, but sooner, because I remember in Steve Harvey's book, Think Like a Man or Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man, where he makes a good point of like, what's the point of getting to know, well, this is for the woman, what's the point that she has a child, what's the point of getting to know a man we're good for 6 months, and then he finds out you have a child, and then he's like, I don't want that. You just lost 6 months.
Heck yeah.
And,
It's a great
like
point.
there's a kid in it. So sooner rather than later, but the timeline is different for everyone. But to condemn or say like, oh, off the top of my head, like off the first date, you should tell me, because if you're a proud mom or a proud dad, if they don't do that, I don't think we should do that.
Fair enough.
I'm always of the thing like just say it. Like if you're on the first date, even before the date, if like we're meeting up, like hey, I have 3 kids. Like you can even mention it on the side. I got to make sure I have my kids are taken care of. Sorry if I keep like changing the dates. Just something. I
Yeah.
just want
Or
to
you
know
don't
that
need, it
I
doesn't,
just want to know that you're responsible. You love your kids. You're taking care of them. You have them in mind. That shows me a good person.
yeah,
Or at least somebody.
But do you have to know that on the first date?
I would love to. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you do,
Mhm.
I guess. Let's segue into what to expect. So let's say you've, have your things to consider. You've had the conversations. Now, what do you expect? I think the first and foremost thing on this list is that, and this is something that you see in movies, and I guess people make you feel, is that the kids come first, no matter what. And I put that in all caps, no matter what, to the parent, meaning that you're always going to be number 2 to the kid, at least at first. So you have to expect that you're going to be number 2. If this kid is sick and you want to go out to dinner, you're not going out to dinner.
If the kid is number 1 from the beginning, you will never be number 1 in the end. Because I think it's
I think
delusional
you're
to think
right.
that things change.
I think you're
That could
right.
change. It takes time for people to build trust.
I'm just
That's
assuming
true.
that like you grow into a family where
Oh, okay. So
where you just like you take a 4-year-old, and then now when he's 12, it's like, okay, well, I'm going out with your dad. Like I'm going out with. Hopefully you don't say like I'm going out with Ben. That's weird. Like I mean, people do that, but
okay.
I feel like, but I mean, I've always heard of that. Kids always come second to the partner.
Got
Now,
it.
do I agree with that? I'm going to withhold my thoughts on that, because
There was
I
a
just I would hate to feel like I'm about to get into a relationship with a woman, and off the jump I'm going to be number 2. That sounds awful.
well, you probably are. The kids doesn't know you that well. You've been with the
Yeah.
mom, so it takes time.
Like I said, it sounds
It
awful.
doesn't sound awful. I would just
It sounds awful
I
to
would
him, Michael.
expect that. Like this kid's probably not gonna, be close with me at first, but I would hope over time that they see that I'm here, they see that I love them. I think you should love the kid.
Yeah, I would
It
hope so.
sounds weird. Yeah, I mean, like you should like assume, like take them as your kid, like if they were your own blood, essentially.
Essentially.
Yeah. And there's a movie that my mom showed me years ago when I was like maybe a teenager. It was with Halle Berry. It came out probably like in the 90s. But it was it was an interesting movie because Halle Berry, she had a kid, like a baby, and she was on drugs in the movie and pretty much like left the baby up for adoption. Or I think she actually put the baby in the garbage can in the movie.
Oh,
Something that
no.
happens a lot in
It
the world.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I like that fire
they-
departments have baby drop-offs now.
Hospital does too.
Yeah, we've heard some of that. But yeah, like so the kid was found and was put in the foster care and stuff like that. And then a nice white family came and saw the kid and adopted. They loved the kid, and the kid grew up with them for like maybe like 4 years, and had a great life, lived in a great neighborhood, was taken care of and loved and everything. And then the mom, Halle Berry, came back. And she was doing better now, but she still lived in like a bad city and everything like that. But she was doing better now. She was kind of off the drugs, or she was off the drugs, but she wanted the kid back.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget what happened or all the circumstances was, but she won custody of the kid back.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the kid, like she brought the kid home, and the kid's like 4 or 5 years old, or like maybe even 6. and was scared and did not like her at all. You know, didn't know her.
He didn't know.
You
For
know her
obvious
at all.
reasons.
And here's what she did eventually towards the end of the movie was she decided and the white couple, they were so sad. They were like
Devastated.
they
You
were
stole their
devastated,
child.
heartbroken. Yeah, I know. It was so sad to see. But what she did, she gave the kid back to the white couple. And what she did, she let them take care of the kid like before, but she would come
She
now
would
and
come
try
in,
to, you know,
Build
deal
a
with the kid
relationship.
that way. Yeah. And that was like the whole movie.
Wow.
Yeah, I've heard
So
stories
there's
like
like,
that.
you know, that's just one scenario, but it was just something cool to think about.
Another thing to expect is, we've already mentioned this, but we have to say it again, that this is not a must, although Mike thinks it is. But I think you have to build a relationship with the other parent or parents, which can be difficult. Especially, it's optional, right? Because you're saying, oh, I don't have to deal with the baby daddy.
It is optional. It's ideal to build a
Well,
relationship.
yeah, I
but
mean, I
there's
would
choice.
shoot for
What
the
kind of relationship are we
ideal.
talking about? Just like we're bros, we're going out to eat or stuff, or we're just like, oh yeah, yeah, man, here's your kid. Take care of him. Like, what kind of relationship
Enough
are we talking
to
about?
like communicate, hey, he's going through X, Y, and Z. Can you handle this?
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, definitely.
Ideally, a friendship would be ideal. So like he sees, like, that there's not animosity, but that's obviously not the case in every situation.
I don't know how
So-
many. Probably not the majority. I would say.
No. And then another thing I think you can expect is that having kids is usually tied to a divorce, which means there's more moving parts and more things to have to put together and handle and juggle as a man or as a woman, which is just a different way. I think also is that once you start being in a relationship with a woman with a child, life will never be the same. You're a parent now too, forever. As long as you're with her, you are a parent, and you can't just throw it. You can't just throw things to a to the biological parent, and be like, you deal with him. Like, you're now part of this person's life, whether
Yeah.
Well, I can't say whether you like it or not, because you chose this, right? Like, I mean, if you have a
Whether you're adopted parent or not, like she has a kid, you're with her and that kid now.
that's what I'm saying.
Even
Like,
if
your
you're not
life will
even
never
taking
be the same,
legal
which is a
responsibility.
huge
Yeah,
responsibility.
You gotta realize, like, you're not gonna be able to go out on
Yeah.
your own with the boys like that all the time. Like, you're a dad. You gotta stay home. You gotta take care of the kids. You gotta feed them. You gotta put them to bed. You gotta help them with homework. You gotta
True.
talk to them about their boyfriend problems
Or girlfriend problems. Yeah. That can be rough.
I'll be like, no dating until college.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
We're not even going to talk about it.
Yeah. And then also, I would say that I think you can expect parents to want to move faster, like Abby mentioned. And I don't think it's necessarily like out of this world to expect that, because they need the stability and they want the help, right? You want somebody to help with the kid, where I'm not with, she wouldn't be with the dad anymore, and she doesn't want to be a single mom because that's already too much. And now to have somebody to go and pick him up and things like that. I think that would really help. So, anything else regarding on what to expect, Doc?
I think expect to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And expect to be anxious. Lots of, like you're saying, lots of moving parts. And as a receiver, you're going to experience all of that. And it might take time to process it all. You won't have all the answers right away, I think. In this conversation, like, we're discussing hypotheticals and what we might say, but we have never been thrown into that scenario off a deep end. And like, you have to get comfortable with saying, like, I need to think about this. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, there may be lots of unknowns.
But I think you do have the advantage, because obviously there is the person who's coming with the kid, they have experience being a parent, so
that's true.
it's not like you're
Yeah.
all just starting from square
I had
one.
that on my list, and I didn't get to it of conversations to have. What lessons have you learned?
Yeah, exactly. So she can like tell you, hopefully she's a good parent, but I'm
That's
assuming
true.
I wouldn't marry her if I didn't think she wasn't.
But you have to, like, find your own way, and you're not going to feel, it's not going to be natural, right? Because like, it's one thing to have your kid, right? And then you grow with it and you learn to love it. But that connection with a child that's coming into your life, it won't be instantaneous. Coming from you, like, you won't just automatically love this child. You won't just want to, like, die for it. And then you might want to like guilt trip yourself for it. I think as women, we would probably suffer with that because like we're seen as the nurturers, or we're supposed to like immediately fall in love with the child. But like,
I
that's
feel
not
like
necessarily going to be the truth.
I
It
don't
will
know.
take time. Because like even
Yes.
if moms who, let's say they get a surrogate, they say they struggle with bonding with their child and they
Wow.
got it as a baby. If a mom who decided to have a baby with
Is
a is
struggling.
Well,
struggling,
that's what do you call that? Isn't
what's
that
makes me
postpartum
think,
depression, right?
No, no, no.
no, I'm
No,
saying,
she's saying it's a surrogate.
so like
If you have
it's
a
like
surrogate, so if somebody else gave birth
if
to your
someone
Oh,
gave
biological
birth to
baby,
my baby, but it's my baby, right? But she was just my surrogate. Moms have vocalized that they struggle connecting with that baby, even though it's theirs now. So I can't think that I'm not gonna struggle with bonding with them and wanting that for myself.
I mean, that's a unique
agreed.
situation. I would say, I would assume though,
But
like,
that's yeah, but like I'm talking, but that's exactly what happens with a single parent. This is a child that's coming into your life
yeah, but if
that
I
you're choosing in a way, but at the same time, that connection's not there
yeah, no, but
naturally.
if I love the woman, I feel like naturally I'm gonna love things that she kind of was, or like I'm gonna not
I
want to say
wouldn't
love
say it's
things that she
natural.
does, but I feel like I would imprint myself on the kids in a way, like
Okay.
because I love her, and so
And I think
I
you
know this
will
is a
with
big part.
time.
I mean, I'm not saying with
Or
time.
you're
I'm not
saying it
gonna.
would be like right away almost.
I mean, if I see she's passionate about those kids, yeah, I'm gonna like also be passionate about them.
Okay.
I just
Interesting.
feel like I just feel like that's something naturally that happens. I don't know. It'd be interesting
I
to.
think it's
I
more
just have to
natural for a
research that.
woman, but I think it's less natural
For
for a
men too.
man to connect with a child that's not his.
I don't know.
If it's
I don't
harder,
know.
I think if it's hard for a woman, I think it's got to be a
But you're
little
talking
bit
about
harder.
surrogacy though.
No,
Like
no,
we're
no.
not
I'm
talking.
just talking about like connecting with a child that's not your own.
Yeah,
I think
I can see
if
that.
it's hard for a woman and we in of ourselves are nurturers and are
But
geared
you
towards
used the example of
connect.
surrogacy though.
Yeah, that was just an example to explain that the fact that I'm saying that it's that to get comfortable with the fact that you might not connect with them right away and like to have grace with yourself.
Yeah,
yeah
so
And
she's
what
saying even if you get it from day one and it's
yeah
hard,
yeah.
imagine getting it from year 5, year 6. It's still hard.
It doesn't. That's for some people. I know some people that they love them kids right away.
All
yeah,
right.
that's
And
true. That's
praise
true.
God for that.
Yeah.
How about if we have finish it up by having a look at things from their perspective? I feel like, when you are a single parent, you have so-called triple the baggage, right? You have your normal baggage as a human being, the baggage of of having a child, and then the baggage of a divorce or a separation.
Or
So
death.
or death, separation, death, which makes things so much more discouraging. And I think specifically for women, their body's not the same anymore. So they might deal with confidence issues. They're like, well, this humongous child went through my, birth canal. Is he going to have an issue with that once we get married? Like, what's that going to look like? Or, like, what if he actually doesn't like me because I'm not, as pretty as I once was? I think a lot of single moms feel that way. And that's not something to, what do you call it, to disregard, I guess I would say. I think another thing that, from their perspective, is that I put here that it's easier for men than it is for women, question mark,
For
which
what? Easier for what?
to be a single dad. I think it's easier to
Yes,
be a
it's
single dad
easier
than
to
it
be a
is to be
single
a
dad
single
than a
mom.
single mom.
And studies do say that kids turn out better with single dads and single moms. Let me just let that sit.
So I think that's just. So the things don't tell the full story because
Exactly.
they're both not ideal
I'm just gonna let
situations to
that
be in.
sit.
I would want to.
Correct. No one's saying it's the ideal, but what else would you guys say? What are some things that we can consider from their perspective so as to have a little bit more grace?
Is they're probably wondering if the guy is going to be a good father. Yeah, he loves me, but does that translate to
Will
my
he be a
kids?
good father?
Will be a good dad or mom.
Will the
That's. I mean,
family accept
I feel like
me?
when a woman is a single mom, that's should be like their priority when choosing somebody to be in a relationship with. Is this guy going
It's
to be a
gotta
good
be.
father for my child? That has to be a top priority.
It's gotta be a
Like it can't
priority
just be like,
because you're
oh,
looking for a
yeah, it
parent.
can't just be like, well, he has money, he has this and that. No, is he a good dad?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is he
Or does
love
he have
my
the
kids?
characteristics of a good dad, right? Because a
Whatever it
good
is you're
dad, you
looking
don't see it
for.
until it's in action.
Well,
That's true, and that's
yeah.
hard to think about.
Well, that's all part of the process of dating. Whatever you're looking for, that will tell you. Like you need to. That should be the
Yeah.
top. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something I think they would definitely or should and look for, or how they would look at us.
Yeah, 100%. I have here 2 pieces of advice, I guess, for somebody who's considering dating a single parent, single mom, or single dad. Feel free to chime in with your own, but I would say that you would want to be patient and realize that everyone makes mistakes, right? Not like, for example, with being a parent out of wedlock. So if you just had a baby with your boyfriend and you never saw him or her again, like that just, not everybody's perfect, and you need to, realize that that's all right. And also, I've said this earlier, but I'm going to say it again, is that the child is not the mistake. It's the parent's decision to have a child that may or may not have been a mistake, right? Or to separate that was the mistake. The child is never the mistake. And then I'll end by saying that I feel like we should also consider or think about that as single parents, they wouldn't want to be solely judged based on their biggest mistakes, assuming it was a mistake or like an oopsie. I think that no one deserves to feel like they have an eternal scarlet letter and have their child to be like a living scarlet letter that is with them forever. So
Yeah. And I think if I give advice, it'd be if you're dating a single parent, to talk to your family in the sense of how they are relating to her. Because I know I have a friend who her brother is dating a single mom, and his mom will not accept her. And even and she might not verbally say it, but the way she talks about it. And even his sister, my friend, she might not verbally say she doesn't accept it, but the way that
they treat
that
her.
she spoke about it, like, well, he's gonna do whatever he wants to do. And then I had to have a conversation with her. I stopped her. I'm like, right there. I'm like, girl, so you got to stop right there. She is not a bad person just because she has children. Like, just because like she's not damaged goods, that doesn't mean she's a bad choice. And you as a woman should know that. And you shouldn't be treating her like that because of that. So talk with your family, and they don't have to be on board, but they need to show that respect, and in the way that they communicate that, because that it's so important, because that's a huge thing from the other's perspective, right? Will they accept me, right? You're marrying the family. Will they
Right,
accept my
right.
kids, or like at least like be nice? I mean, obviously, I only know the Latino culture the most, and that's a huge thing, especially like single moms. It's hard out here, right? Because like we said, like single moms, they have the kids most of the time, right? And then they're saying of like, well, like she's screwed. She has kids now. She's single. She's screwed. Who's gonna want to marry her, right? So like, there's all this language out there, all of that stuff like that. It's like if you're gonna marry a single person, a single parent, you got to be serious about it. That like, there's kids involved. You're not messing around with anybody, just like you wouldn't be with a, but there's more implications.
Agreed.
I would say, and this is kind of maybe more to the men, that my advice would be to be a leader,
In
like to be a
Christ.
leader in the relationship and raising the family. Like you're the man. The Bible tells the men, to be the head of the household, and we're not talking about domineering, but we're talking into, leading the family to Christ. Have that
Be
in
the
your head.
example.
Be the example, but also, well, yeah, be the example of, what like a godly father should be, but also of, how Jesus is. Like try to exemplify Jesus in your life to your kids, establish that in your family. So, they can have a relationship with God and they can want to be, you know, in church and all those other things. So I think a lot of people today, because we're kind of going away from the patriarchy, you know um and I understand why they were doing that, because there's a lot of, like I said, domineering, there's a lot of abuse, but when it's all founded in Christ, it's a beautiful thing. And the kids being raised in a godly household with two godly parents brings the most success. And we're looking at eternal success. So, be the leader in the family. Be like, hey, like I want to have worship, with the kids. I want us to go to church. I want us to pray. I want the kids to study their Bibles. I want to, share these Bible stories that I was shared when I was a kid. All those things. And let the woman know that, like, hey, like let's do that. And for women too, lead kids to Jesus. That's
Amen.
because it's a secular world more and more every day, and we need to bring that back.
Yeah. Mind closing us out in prayer?
Yeah, let's close.
Let's do it.
All right, dear Lord, I want to just thank you for allowing us to just have this discussion, a very important discussion, and one that has touched a lot of people's lives. We hope we were able to say some things and give perspectives that were biblically sound and true to the Lord, and that people who are listening, hopefully they are able to take something from this and be able to incorporate it into their own lives, the Lord, and whoever is actually going through this scenario. We just want to let them know that they are still a child of God, dear Lord, that they are still under your protection, and that you still want them to have love and to have a loving family, and that you still have plans for them, dear Lord, and that they don't need to just feel like their chance is over, that they still can be loved, dear Lord, and they can still have these beautiful godly relationships. So we just want to be with all those people out there who are, single parents, and who, and for the people who are, dating a single parent, or thinking about dating, or married to a single parent, or to someone who was formerly single. So, just be with everyone out there, and thank you for this opportunity. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.